Let's talk a little bit more about email this morning, shall we? I had an interesting question during the week and I thought, what a great topic to talk about. This is Charlie. And yes, I am still in my bush office, but it's a little bit windy outside today. And rather than have you all annoyed by the wind sounds, I thought I'd come inside and put up a nice background. I don't know if it is a nice background, but I like the colours anyway. Let's have a chat about email. So last week I spoke about branding your email and the importance of branding your email to your business. Today I want to talk about the providers and the different types of providers you can choose, the two different types of providers that you can choose, and the pros and cons of those providers. So the first provider I'm going to talk about is self-hosted email. So self-hosted emails. Now, that normally happens when you take a hosting package and it says you've got unlimited emails on your account or some number of emails on your account, and you go in through your hosting panel and create your emails through your hosting panel. Those emails or those email inboxes will be hosted on a Linux server within your hosting provider's infrastructure. Now, I'm going to add the term generally. They will be hosted there. You do need to dig a little and just ask a couple of questions to make sure that that is the case. And I'll cover off why in a minute. But if they are hosted on the hosting provider's infrastructure, there's a couple of things to consider. One is that the data space your inboxes are using come out of your hosting allocation. So if you have a hosting account that gives you a gigabyte of data storage and you have inboxes that use 500 megabytes of data storage, that comes out of that gigabyte. So it's really easy to overextend your data storage if you get a lot of email in, if you get a lot of email with email attachments in. If you like to store your data for a long time, your emails for a long time, it can really add up and take up your data storage of your hosting provider. That's one of the drawbacks. The other drawbacks, or another drawback is, I'm just trying to think how to put it. It's hosted within your hosting provider's infrastructure. Now, a hosting provider generally, and I'm always going to use the term generally here because there are exceptions to the rule, but generally your hosting provider is not concerned or as concerned with the reputation of their IP addresses for the delivery of mail. It's a very kind of formal way of saying it. So when you're sending mail, the receiving mail providers will look at the IP address that your mail comes from, which is your mail server, and say, this IP address has actually got a really bad reputation. It's being used to send a lot of spam, or it's being used to send spam in general. That happens if you're on a shared server a lot of the time because people don't think about the messages they're sending, and if it gets flagged as spam, it gets flagged as spam. The other thing that can happen is it says this IP address doesn't have enough reputation. I know it blew me away when I heard that one. It doesn't have enough reputation, so we're not going to accept mail from it until it develops its reputation, because this could be a server that has been set up just to send spam. Even though the message that you're sending hasn't been flagged as spam, doesn't look like spam, the IP address is really the key to it. So even if you go to a dedicated mail server within your hosting provider's infrastructure, that is still something you need to consider. It's terrible as far as I'm concerned. So that's two of the cons for using server-based email. The only real positive that I can come up with, and look, I use this for my clients. I do have people who use server-based email. And the positive is that you can have a lot of email addresses, a lot of inboxes at very little cost. It tends to be a very low cost option for you. The drawback, as I said, is that you're using your storage and your mails may not get delivered regardless of how well you set up your domain and make sure your domain name is set up correctly and all the mail records are set up correctly. So that's server-based email, and I wanted to address that up front. The other option is to go to a mail service provider. Now, I call them mail service providers. I don't know if there's a better term for it or a more official term for it, but a mail service provider is someone like Google Business Apps. I think that's what they're called today, Google Apps for Business. I think that's what they're called today. Microsoft 365 Online, or Microsoft Exchange Online, and Zoho. And that Zoho is who I use for my mail service provider. I have used Google, and I do use Outlook with several of my clients. So they're the three that I'm really familiar with, and they would be the big three. The Google and Microsoft would be the two that most people are familiar with. Zoho tends to be a little bit more boutique and does things a little differently, but it's still an excellent, excellent service. Okay. And I just, to make this very clear, I am a reseller for all three of these. I actually went out and took reseller status and went through the various hoops and bells and whistles to be able to get that reseller status. So I'm a reseller for, just to make this really transparent, I am a reseller for Outlook and Google. I went through all the hoops and the bells and the whistles to be able to get that status. That means that I am able to sell services to you as a client, set you up, and support you throughout the whole process. Your relationship will be with me as the reseller and not directly with Google or Microsoft. For Zoho, I am an affiliate and I am attempting to take reseller status with them. That may or may not happen, but as an affiliate, I will get a small commission for what you buy through them. That said, also, I am perfectly able to help set you up, help you manage your accounts, and by creating an account for myself on your system, I will be able to help you manage it online as well. So that's, I just wanted to get that transparency out there because that's really important to understand. Now, that's not why I'm recommending them. I actually went and did all this because I saw the benefit of using these services and getting my clients on board to use these services. So why use a mail service provider? The first thing you should know, one of the biggest cons about doing this is every mailbox you take, every licensed mailbox you take, costs you money every month or every year. It's billed annually or billed monthly. So it's not like you can just go in and say, oh, I just need a new email. I'll just go and create a new email address. You can, but it's going to cost you. And you need to be very cognizant of that. And you need to have a really good strategy around how you manage your email. So that's the biggest con. And it would be, seriously, it would be the only con I can think of with, oh no, one more I can think of. There you go. I knew if I thought about it, I'd think about it. Your mail is hosted with another provider. It's on their servers. Something goes wrong and you can't get access to it. You can't get access to it. That said, I don't see that as a biggest concern as I would using other people's services to do other things. I'll cover that off a bit later. I'll do that in another video. In terms of pros, what do you get? First of all, massive inboxes, massive storage space per inbox. I'd have to think on terms of what each give you, but I can tell you right off the bat that Microsoft 365 start at 100 gigabytes, 50 gigabytes and go up. I can't think what the others give you. I'd have to go and look them up. I don't have to remember everything. I have it all written down. But you get massive storage space per inbox, which is great. That means that you can really use your mail as an archive system. You can start archiving things off rather than deleting them. They are all stored on their server. And if you need to refer back to them, you can. And in terms of accountability, and paper trails, it's worth $1 million. I still, as I said in my previous video, I've got mails going back to 2012 that I still refer to because I have them sitting there and those agreements are still in place. The other thing you get is amazing spam filtering. And I didn't actually list that as a con for server-based email, but running a spam server on your Linux server is a little difficult and it's really tricky and it takes a lot of work to maintain it and tune it to your requirements. I got to say that email service providers have this down pat. They know what they're doing. They've got teams dedicated to making sure that their spam filtering is tuned, finely tuned, highly tuned to their users' needs. So you immediately get a reduction in the email that you see on your clients because all the spam is filtered out. It doesn't mean that it's completely filtered out, though. What it does is it puts it into the spam filter, or it's the spam box or the junk mail box. Generally, some of them actually get filtered out right at the top and you don't even see them come in. That's very rare, but they do go into your spam or your junk mail box. So you do need to go and check that on a regular basis because some legitimate mails do get caught there. But not having that spam come into your inbox is an amazing thing. The day I moved initially to Google Mail for Business, and it stopped all my spam coming in, and I could actually see the real emails that I needed to deal with. It transformed my life, honestly. I know I'm gushing a little, but it transformed my life. So you get bigger email boxes, you get better spam filtering, and mail deliverability is maintained. So the reputation of the IP addresses of the mail servers that your messages go from is a key factor in the management of their businesses for these email service providers. They work tirelessly to make sure that their IP addresses are clean, that mail will get through, and if something goes wrong, that they are on it within a heartbeat, because this is where they make their money. If people can't send and receive messages because their mail servers keep getting pinged, people aren't going to use them. So for me, it is worth it. I think I pay $10 a month for my inboxes. It's well worth that money to take all of that headache and put it away, give it away to someone else to manage. The final pro that I have for it is that every one of them that I've mentioned, Google, Outlook, and Soho, have an app for your mobile devices, and you can send and receive messages on your mobile devices with an app that looks basically the same on your desktop as it does on your mobile devices. There's always a few differences, but basically the same. And when you send it from your mobile device, you will see it on your desktop device. If you send it from your desktop device, you will be able to see it from your mobile device. The synchronization, because all of it is stored on the mail server itself, is amazing. Finally, if you don't want to use the apps they provide and you have your own app that you want to use, if you're still on Thunderbird, and I know I'm going to get some rolled eyes and some people go, what the hell is Thunderbird? Thunderbird is a mail application that runs on your PC and on your phone, I think. I think it's an mobile app now. It's old, but it works perfectly. It's a great little app, or it was a great little app until some of these new ones came in. You can use that. That's fine. They let you do that too. Okay, so still looking at email service providers. The other thing that you need to consider is how you set up your mailboxes, because you don't want to be paying $10 a month for your own personal inbox and then an info inbox and an admin inbox and a sales inbox. Those three that I class as positional emails don't necessarily have to have their own licenses for you to be able to send and receive mail from them, or receive mail on them and then send mail as them. Each provider does it slightly differently, but they all provide something akin to a distribution list, which is what you could use as a positional email. A distribution list is where you have an address and your users, your staff with a licensed mailbox can send mail as that email address, and people can email that email address and it's distributed back to your internal staff members who have access to it. Like I said, they do it slightly differently. So it might be a distribution list or it might be a shared inbox in Microsoft's case. It might be a collaborative inbox / group in Google's case, and it might be a team inbox in Zoho's case. They all work perfectly well, and one of the main benefits is those inboxes, once you've paid for your licenses for yourselves, generally don't cost you money. They are free. The only thing that you can do with them, though, is use them to send and receive emails. And you can't log into them. You can't access them remotely. You access them through your own personal account. So really, when I talk about a license, I'm talking about a personal account for someone that can then access all of these wonderful features. So there's the pros and cons of using email service providers. If you were to ask me how I would set up a small business that has a VA or a VA team who needs to have access to group emails, which is what I see most with a lot of small businesses. So and this is exactly the case with myself. There's me. I have a license. One of my team members have a license. I have a third license for what I call my VA team. That license, when I bring on a new VA who doesn't need a dedicated mailbox for themselves, they get access to that inbox, and all my VAs can access that. They can log in and out of it as they need to. That inbox on its own has access to the distribution list / shared email / team inbox as needed. And then they typically will interact on a daily basis as one of the shared addresses, one of the group addresses that I've set up, because they don't need to send and receive email as themselves. They need to send and receive emails on behalf of my company and on behalf of a role they are playing within my company. And what I would do for you as my client is I'd sit down with you and say, okay, how does this work? How do you see this working? How can we streamline this? So you have full visibility when you want full visibility. Doesn't mean to say you have to manage it and micromanage it on a day-to-day basis, but you might want to be able to get in and check things in case someone's sick or someone rings you and says, I don't know what's going on. You want to be able to get in and have a look at the history and see what communications have been going on. How do you want your VAs to actually work? What sort of levels of accountability do you want them to be able to have to you to say, yes, I've done this, or, just how do you want to manage it? So that's what I would do with you as a client, is I would sit down and help you map out the best ways to set up your mail service. And I would do that, by the way, whether you were using a shared mail server, or a server-based mail server like I run on my hosting, or an email service provider, because the process is similar between each. One gives you the benefit that it doesn't cost you quite as much to do it that way. So there's some thoughts on how you can set up your email. There are other things to consider, like how does that then interact with things like chat and what am I thinking? Docs and all those sorts of things. And they're things I'll cover off in other videos, but that's a really good start for you as a business to think about how to handle your email. All right, guys. So I'm not sure if the birds are coming through from outside. I can hear them chirping away. I might go and sit outside for a little bit and get a bit of fresh air. I'd like to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and ring the notification bell to get notifications of future episodes. And leave any comments below. I'd love to know what you think. Thanks, guys. Bye.